Come on in, I'm Finn, and in today's video I'll be discussing art and writing tropes. Specifically tropes I'm not very fond of. I know many of you saw the thumbnail, recognize a character that you either love or hate, and immediately click in to tell me I'm wrong or that I'm so right and based, without having actually watched the video. I just want to clarify, I'll be giving examples of both media I like and media I'm not a big fan of. Analyzing what we enjoy and what we don't can make us appreciate works of fiction more. Feel free to let me know if you disagree with me. Let's just keep it civilized and remember that all my criticisms are in good faith. And for the people wondering what I'm drawing, these are my OCs, which I haven't really shared much about here. I'm planning the lore drop for a future video. For now, I've mainly talked about them in Unvale, which happens to be the sponsor of today's video. This is not the first time I'm recommending Unvale. It's a platform where you can share your characters and stories and connect with other creators. Unvale values human creativity above anything else. They continuously work to improve the UI and the search engine, and yes, they are probably anti-AI. The community there is lovely and very supportive. You can post your characters, share their backstories, use the trivia section to fully flesh out any details you want to include, customize the theme and colors of the page to your liking, and they even have an option to add a Spotify playlist you made for your characters to their profile. Moreover, with their worlds feature, you can organize multiple characters from different stories so they are easier to browse. And the chances are, you still need to write down and organize that very cool character lore you came up with, but it's all in your head. So do you want to flesh out your characters? Want to read what me and other creators have written about our own OCs? Or maybe you want to create a character based on every single trope I'm mentioning in this video out of spite? In any case, I can recommend Unvale enough. Thank you again to Unvale for sponsoring this video, and let's begin with the first trope. I see this trope a lot in media, but it's even more prominent with people's OCs, and it's the character with dead parents. Stop typing. No, I am not against every single character that has deceased relatives. And yes, it's realistic to have characters that have suffered the loss of a loved one. It's not even uncommon. I could say it's more rare to have all your characters coming from healthy, functional families. But that is not the issue. The issue is when every single character has this extremely angsty backstory where at least one of their parents have died. Now, I see where this is coming from. It's just easier making your characters not have parents, especially in some genres like children adventures, where having the parents involved in the story could mean an obstacle for our main character. I don't think most parents would approve of their kids going to battle evil monsters and stuff. Moreover, a deceased relative can give your character that bit of extra trauma that people think is necessary to make compelling characters. And of course, we cannot forget that if your character has parents, they must have any sort of relationship with them. And you have to write that. And that's a lot of work that you can just avoid by removing the parents altogether. If you are feeling fancy, you can kill one of them, usually the mom, and make the father extremely abusive, giving your character an angsty past while still being able to cut their other parent from their life. But the thing is that the parents must go, which, in my opinion, can be such a missed opportunity. Paternal and maternal relationships can be extremely fun to explore, both positive and negative ones. I cannot stress enough how much they affect a person's development, and learning more about a character's parents can be very insightful to understand them. I'm not saying they need to be part of every story or a primary focus. But if we can have characters constantly mentioning the tragic fate of their family members in every episode, we can afford other characters talking about their parents and siblings. It's especially infuriating when we know absolutely nothing about the parents other than the fact that they died tragically and the protagonist is sad about it. They're not people, just plot devices meant to make us feel bad about the main character. If their dead mother meant so much to them that they're bringing her up every time they need to justify their actions, at least let us know more about her. What was she like? No, give us some other traits than being maternal and nice. That's the thing, dead moms in media are not characters. How can I get invested if the writer didn't even make her have personality traits? I swear you can make a character interesting and have their family alive. You don't need every character to have an angsty backstory surrounding their parents to make us care about them. I've seen many people complaining about when heroes refuse to kill the bad guy that has committed too many atrocities to count. While I get it can be frustrating, and I have gotten frustrated many times, I don't think it's always bad. People get mad at characters like Superman or Steven Universe for refusing to kill, when, in the first case, Superman refusing to kill is an important characterization. His refusal to kill is due to him thinking the moment he crosses that line, there won't be any line he wouldn't be able to cross. He knows how dangerous he can be, so he fights to choose another option and not to fully lose himself in the process. In Steven, that's a literal child. It's more than reasonable for him to be hopeful there's gonna be another way, and I don't know why some people are so insistent that a child in a children's cartoon must kill the bad guy or they are a terrible person. Like, come on, he needs enough therapy already. This doesn't mean bad guys should be free of consequences, but there's so many different ways of handling it. Personally, I think there's nothing more satisfying than a villain bringing their demise upon themselves. Now, what am I trying to say with all this? I think a character that refuses to kill can be a well-done and interesting concept. What I hate is when a character spends 99% of the story killing random goons and minor villains, and when facing the big bad guy, they suddenly are like, "No, I'm not that kind of person." Yes, you are! Why are you acting like this out of nowhere? Are you saying Bob, the random henchman you defenestrated 5 minutes ago, that his life wasn't important? He had a family and kids! There's many examples that might come to mind, but I want to talk about Squid Game Season 3, because oh wow, I can't begin to unpack how disappointing that was. But I can complain about Gi-hun. I'm gonna assume you've watched the 3rd season. If not, spoilers ahead. Can anyone explain to me why he was refusing to stab people that wanted to hurt a newborn baby? Oh, because he's not that type of person. Yes, he is! He strangled the hoe during his little side quest on the hide-and-seek episode for acting cowardly, yet he wants to protect people that are actively trying to kill a baby for money! A weird CGI baby, but a baby nonetheless. And can we talk about how stupid the cameo with Sebyok was? I get it was just his subconscious and not the real Sebyok, but my girl couldn't have said that. She could have been like, yeah, stab those bastards. One of the few examples I think was done correctly is Odysseus from Epic the Musical. I'm gonna talk specifically about the musical portrayal and not any other version of the myth. So Epic starts with Odysseus killing an infant because the gods have told him to do so or the kid could grow up and kill his family, yada yada. For the next songs, Odysseus refuses to take anyone's lives, which, more than seeming hypocritical, it seems like him actively wanting to avoid any more bloodshed. And you can fully understand how his actions, his guilt, and way of thinking evolve throughout the play, and you never think it's out of character. Instead, you slowly see how his desperation and lack of alternatives get the best of him. Unfortunately, most of the time, the changes of morals don't seem like a progression of a character arc, but writers cop out to get the character to do what they want at a specific moment, which at best can seem dumb, and at worst can result in character assassination. This one is a tricky one to discuss, because while I think with the previous one we can all agree that it objectively sucks almost every time, this one isn't necessarily a bad thing per se. I'm talking about a time skip ending which, hold on, stop typing, I'm talking about a specific time skip ending trope. Time skip endings can be a nice way to end a story. We see how the consequences of the original plot play out, how the characters are dealing with their new status quo, and how the events that happen are shaping the world. You couldn't get to see this if the story ended the moment the conflict was finished, so having a time skip ending is definitely useful and nice to see. An example of this being done right is in the Owl House. We see how the Boiling Isles are revealed, how a new type of magic is developing, how Luz manages to have the best of both the human and witch worlds, and we also get to see how the characters are doing a couple of years in the future. Yeah, no notes, time skip endings can be great and satisfying. My specific complaint is about time skips that only serve to show us how the characters married and have children, and that's it. We don't really get to see any changes. This is not really giving us any meaningful information. An example I want to mention is Digimon Adventure 02. Now, the ending of Digimon Adventure 10 out of 10 makes me cry every time. I'm talking about Digimon Adventure 02, which has an epilogue time skip in which the human and Digimon worlds end up getting connected. And it's mentioned that every human now has a Digimon partner, which is a crazy change of status quo. I can't wait to see how that affects the... What, it's 3 minutes of going through all the characters one by one, being like, this guy became a doctor and had a son. This guy became a lawyer and had a daughter. That's so lame and boring, and we really don't need to know this. You cannot drop that lore bomb and do nothing with it. Actually, learning that Agumon became a United Nations diplomat and Gabumon is an astronaut, I take it back, that's so funny. Now, an example that I find less fun is Harry Potter. The only new information we learn in the epilogue is that he sucks at naming his children. There are no changes other than there's no Voldemort. Why are we even seeing this? Did nothing else really happen? Wouldn't the Magic Society have changed in any meaningful way after the events of the story? There are so many more interesting ways of handling this. So yes, in my opinion, good examples of timeskip endings give us satisfying conclusions when we see the actual consequences of the characters' decisions and check up on them. Bad timeskip endings just focus on telling us a bunch of unnecessary facts that couldn't be included in the original story and don't affect our perception of this in any meaningful way. It really feels like when writers make tweets after the show is over giving us facts that they really wanted us to know but couldn't bother to include in the original media. Yes, you just want to let us know that these characters 100% ended up together. Which, I mean, if you're doing that, at least have another reason why you're making the time skip. Now it's time for another one of those, not necessarily a bad trope, I'm just so tired of it, which is dogs in horror movies. This can also apply to cats or any type of pet. I just see it more commonly with dogs. Do you want your viewers to get shocked and affected by your horror movie? Ho ho ho, well, couldn't be a sip if something happened to the adorable pup. Only that it happens so often that it's more shocking when the dog survives. I'm not saying you cannot include a dog in horror media. Heck no, don't take any of the stuff I've said in this video as you can include this in a story or it's bad. Because that's not what I'm trying to convey. Just do it a little less often. I don't know about you, but every time I'm watching a horror movie and I spot a dog, I'm already saying my goodbyes. This is not exclusively a horror thing. There's no faster way to make you hate a character than if they hurt an animal. So that's the easiest way to make someone unlikable. And it works! It's just that if it happens too often, you grow desensitized to it. And it can feel like lazy writing. Come on, give us characters that are absolutely terrible and disgusting, but couldn't harm an animal. I love evil characters with a very strict moral code. And learning which lines they are willing to cross and which ones they aren't can give us so much interest in characterization. At least way more than, we need to show this character is bad, let's make them hurt a dog. Wait, is this a JoJo reference? But yeah, most viewers care about animal characters. Many care about them way more than about the human ones. So even if on paper it seems like the best idea to upset the viewer, the way it's so overdone might make it seem too predictable and lazy. Okay, I think that was enough complaining for a video. You can let me know if there's any other particular trope you personally are not a fan of and why. I really enjoy reading your opinions. And as I said, feel free to agree or disagree with any of the points I've made in the video. I'm just a random person on the internet, so don't let me dictate what you can or can't enjoy. Let's just make sure to keep the conversation civilized. Or call me a moron. Engagement is engagement. Bye!